My name is James Henry Bach, and today for my persuasive speech, I will be talking about genetically modified organisms. For those of you that has a diet that consists of corn, soy, and many other crops, which are in a majority of the foods we eat every day, did you know that you are constantly consuming genetically modified organisms? The purpose of my speech today is to show that genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, should not have the negative label that the media and the public has put on them. Many of the packages we see today have a label that says non-GMO. But do you really know what non-GMO means, or even what a genetically modified organism is? According to the 2019 article, What is Genetic Modification by Rachel Ross, genetic modification is the process of altering the genetic makeup of an organism. This has been done indirectly for thousands of years by controlled or selective breeding of plants and animals. Looking just at this fact that genetically modifying organisms has been a technique that has been going on for so long and is only improving, it is shown that this is not as harmful as people make it seem. In high school, I was very interested on the topic of GMOs, and I spoke on it for multiple classes. Through extensive research on both the pros and the cons of GMOs, I feel that I am very well versed to persuade my audience on my beliefs of what this issue is. To show how GMOs are beneficial in the food industry and to ourselves, I am going to inform you on what exactly a GMO is, the reasons why it is good, and for the whole cycle of the food, from food growth to consumption, and the future of genetic modification. My first body point is genetic modification. And the definition of genetic modification is the process of altering the genetic makeup of an organism. In simpler terms, it's a living being that has had their genetic code changed in some way. And the process in which this is done is actually pretty simple. First, a scientist inserts the gene into the cells of a nucleus, an extremely small but large amount of DNA stuffed into a small cell. The single cell then modifies, and then the scientist treats it naturally with plant hormones. One cell starts to divide, which is actually a natural process, and then the rest of the cell takes on the specialized functions until full plant growth takes place. All cells in the plant contain the new gene, and this is according to a 2020 Purdue article. The plant has seeds that can then be taken for production agriculture use. So once an organism is genetically modified, the seeds that plant or crop produces can then be used on large scale. The process in which plants and crops are genetically modified is safely monitored and can be easily done with the right people. The outcome of this is a world of food that has greater strength and benefits than ever before. Many people argue that the modifying of natural organisms is unsafe, and maybe it used to be that way, but today it is not in any way. So for my second body point, I'll be talking about crops and food. GMO seeds have been being used for over 20 years and are only improving. One of the main benefits of GMOs is the reduction of pesticide and herbicide use. By reducing pesticides and herbicides, you're reducing the chemicals that are being used on crops and plants that are then being consumed by the world. And by genetically modifying these organisms to not use these, you can genetically modify them to resist insects, resist weeds, and disease, which takes out what pesticides and herbicides do. Another pro of GMOs is the adaptability to conditions and climates. Say that you're growing crops in an area that has been known to have lots of drought. Organisms can be genetically modified to better grow in those areas that have drought and can better efficiently use nutrients. Another benefit to GMOs is the increased crop yield. And then what I said before is safety. Back before GMOs were as monitored as they are now, they were linked to safety concerns. And many people were afraid that there was allergen potential before going into market, but today it takes 7 to 10 years to develop a genetically modified organism and analyze it before it is given to the public. As genetically modifying organisms become more and more apparent in today's world, further research, studies, and biotechnology are improving the future of GMOs. So for my third point, I'm going to talk about the future of genetically modified organisms, So first I'd like to talk about studies. There are over 1,700 peer-reviewed studies showing that GMOs are safe for human consumption. This is according to an Inside Battle article from 2019. And a quote from Modern Ag 2017 is that genetically modified foods currently available on international market have passed safety assessments and are not likely to present risks for human health. In addition, no effects on human health have been shown as a result of the consumption of such foods by the general population in the countries where they have been approved. And this is according to the World Health Organization. Looking into the future, we like to see biotechnology. Biotechnology can be used to make foods more nutritious. And an example of this is the tomato example, which is today they are using biotechnology and genetically modifying organisms to make a tomato more nutritious than it was ever before. Also, GMOs can aid longer shelf life, and they could possibly help changing global conditions because the way that they are used. So in summary, before informing you on exactly what a GMO is, the reason why it is good for the whole cycle of food from growth to consumption, and the future of genetic modification, I assume that many thoughts and perspectives on genetically modified organisms were very negative. Even for me, from what others told me, I used to think that they were not good to be used. After looking through facts and research, it is evident that GMOs, when monitored correctly, are very beneficial to producers, consumers, and the world. In order to adapt to the changing world, we, as a whole, must look for ways to efficiently and economically grow and consume food. With further research and use of biotechnology, GMOs can be a leader in solving this issue. I encourage you to think heavily on this topic. Go online, do your own research, and develop your own opinion on how genetically modified organisms can benefit all aspects for the future of the food industry. Thank you.